Are you gonna do a thing today? Did you hear me?
You know what? I am gonna do a thing today. This is my first episode of Do Anything, Austin. I was saying this to Max earlier this morning. I was like, if there's anyone who I thought deserved to be on like a type of show or something to get their music out there, it's you. Because I've known you.
I appreciate that, man.
For what, 5 years now? Solid 5 years.
I think I would say closer to 7 or 8.
7 or 8.
I've known you since I was 15. I'm 23 now.
Wow.
So it's been that long.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's been a heck of a trip, man.
Yeah, I mean it's been nuts. We were talking the other night about how we also went to the same middle school, which blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I didn't, because Celebration was such a bubble that to hear anyone else be a part of that kind of rocks my world a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like there's a few people who've like stuck around in the air. I feel like when you mention somebody, you're like, oh, you went there? You're like, no way.
Yeah.
Like it's like this like secret club that no one knows about.
Yeah, and it's also because growing up in Celebration, especially I consider like our generation to be really the first to be in that area. You went through that, and it was so weird because the parents really didn't give a shit.
No, I mean, I'm pretty sure I've walked and skateboarded every inch and mile of Celebration.
Yeah.
Hands down. I would leave days at a time just walking around with my friends and kind of experiencing what was out there in that tiny little box that it was just like a big old playground. I feel like met a lot of people, and a lot of people still to this day from Celebration that I'm in interaction with, like including yourself. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a cool spot.
A lot of drugs too.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I can't speak for myself, but I'm sure that is definitely.
That was my experience.
Like, yeah,
a ton of people do, and not even like the fun stuff like acid or marijuana.
No, it was definitely
the harder stuff.
Yeah, people are. Yeah, I was just like, wow.
No thanks.
Got all the time in the world, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. So, you're a musician. I have some prepared questions. I thought I was going to try to be really sly about it and be like,
You're a musician.
You're a musician.
You just had to throw on the finger guns. Man. Yeah, whoa. Oh, man.
Yeah, no, so I have some, like I said, we met up the other night. Got some really fun questions from it. You said you're 23.
Mm-hmm.
And, instead of asking, like, when did you get into music, when did you, like, at what age did you realize, like, this is what you wanted to do? Like, this is exactly...
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, I would say it got really habit forming, became a lifestyle for me at 16. I feel like it was almost at a point where I wasn't focusing on school. I was traveling a lot at a very young age. Everybody, the people that I was in a band with that you've met were way older than me. All of them.
Wow.
About 2 or 3 years apart. So I was just like this young kid who was writing a bunch of music, and I didn't even have a car until I was like 19 or 20, so I felt bad. I had my friends from Celebration or Sanford or wherever they were, and they were like, hey, we got to get you out here. You got to, we have stuff to do. And then I think it all came into perspective when I was like 16, coming on 17. I got to play like a really big show at Hard Rock with my friends. It was with like Hollywood and Dead, and we came as Romans.
Wow.
And,
holy shit.
Yeah, bunch of stuff at a very young age, and it really
hard rock in
Universal?
in
in Universal, yeah.
Jesus.
And I just remember like we weren't even supposed to be there. A band dropped off, a pretty well-known band. They dropped off a tour for one day just to go play in New York, and then they asked us. Yeah, and what's crazy is we barely had music out, but we had a big following for a bunch of kids from all scattered over, Osceola County.
That's amazing.
But yeah, I mean, ever since then, man, I came into perspective was like, wow, this could be every day for me, and I'm not going to stop until it is. And,
right.
know.
So was the Hard Rock your first venue you ever played in, or what was
No. I mean, first real big, large scale venue, I would say yes, for sure. I would say I grew up playing shows at like a local. There was a church. I'm sure the Second Saturday Showcase it was called.
Yeah.
It was off of near downtown Kissimmee. I saw, the first band that I ever played in. Tons of people's bands that I ended up becoming really good friends with. I met them there, and it was kind of like this, not that big of a place, but it had some great musicians. It had some great people there, and to this day, I still, they still resonate with me. That music and all that time together. Yeah. Everybody's mostly still doing music, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah,
but it's
absolutely.
all different stuff. We all come into our own, so.
The Second Saturday Showcase,
mm-hmm.
was that the one with it was a one-level church
that
just went all the way back?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that place. Wow.
That was home for me. That was my home away from home. Like I felt like some of my best friends, we would just always go there, and it shed some light. They had national touring acts. Wow. They had bands from Florida. Yeah. Tons of stuff. And the guy who ran it, his name is Rick. Great guy, just super supportive.
Yeah.
And it really gave a lot of people like me growing up wow, those are my friends. I could do that, or wow, like I would really love to aspire to be able to be involved with that, and then it ended up shaping the musician I am now.
Yeah.
So.
That's a backstory. Did Rick require you guys to play a certain genre? I just find it interesting because if I remember, it was kind of heavy music, and this is a church we're talking about.
Yeah, they had all kinds of different music, but he's a fan of it all. I think he was a really
just like screw it.
Yeah, I felt like he was just so into getting that to progress, getting that to start. And so
it wasn't really a religious aspect; it was just a community aspect.
Yeah, I mean, like there was some guidelines, like you couldn't be like F this, F that, or denouncing anything, But other than that,
I hate Jesus.
He would kind of cut it to a stop there. But I mean, for the most part, all the bands, like he kind of let them do whatever they wanted, whatever came out.
Wow. So you said you performed with your first band there. What was that?
I was called Carry Your Burden.
Carry Your Burden.
It was with I was with a few of my friends that I met. Christian Foster used to be in it. I don't know if you know him. Wow. Mike Randazzo. He's a great tattoo artist at Pride and Envy.
There's a plug.
I'm going to reference all my friends over time. And I would say, with funny story, one of my best friends, Mark, that he was supposed to be in the band, and the band kind of was coming down. I was playing bass in that when I first started. I didn't think I was good enough to play guitar, so I started playing bass, and that's how I got into it.
Wow.
But yeah, so I ended up meeting Mark through that, and then we ended up forming Currents through the fall of Carry Your Burden, and then ever since, that was the big chunk of my life that you were kind of part of there.
Wow. I find it interesting that I always find this like a little, feather in my cap. I followed musicians around in the beginning of my film career, and then after film school, one of the things I do is literally sound work, which I think hugs, the music career. So, like, some of the microphones and stuff must feel right at home for you because this is what you surround yourself with.
Oh, yeah. I mean, not only through music is, I also took, like, TV production all throughout high school. I was on the announcements.
Are you serious? Oh, yeah, that's amazing.
I was.
You were at Harmony, right?
Yeah, I was at Harmony High School, all throughout high school, and I was on the announcements probably like 3 out of the 4 years that I was there.
Lucky. I got in late to that.
All my bad humor started there, I think, and they used to let us just take a camera, handheld with my friends, little tapes.
Yeah.
And you're just making, dumb videos, and you're putting on the announcements for everybody to see, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is a class."
You watch that today, it's a cringe fest.
Oh, I would love it. I think I was just like half awake because it was my first period every day.
Yeah.
I was half awake, or like I was saying Anchorman jokes. That was my whole thing, and I still to this day like Will Ferrell's one of my favorite comedians there. So
envy you on the meeting being on the morning announcements, because I came into Celebration sophomore year, didn't know TV classes existed.
Yeah.
And then junior and senior year, I played catch up doing what I could with that. But it's the equipment and all of this, how it ties back into the music. How much time do you spend in the studio? And to tack onto that question, I was around when Currents was growing. Would you argue that was your first kind of like successful band, or what would you say was the one that, or maybe like in that time? Because the way I saw it,
I mean, I was in it for a long time. I mean, it was something that I made.
I really thought Currents was gonna go. I'm not gonna lie. Like, what?
Thanks, man. If we had this thing where I think we shot ourselves in the foot, and like it's funny because people still reference it. You know, like every time if I run into Dominic or I run into like some of my old friends, they'll go, "Oh, hey, Currents," or "Oh, it's Currents here," but they always throw a joke like that. But I mean, like I learned a lot from it. Through music, I've met a lot of my best friends, people that I've never would have met if I didn't play with Currents.
Right.
And at this time, like, the one thing that I can say that it did for me is, we got to play shows, we trialed and errored, we got to learn what the harsh realities are of, like, trying to get out there. And, this was before, Facebook charged you to share your stuff, or like the music industry was a little less progressed as it is now. I feel like it's a lot harder to like solidify yourself as a front runner nowadays off the bat. But I think that like we were just some kids in high school. Like two of us were right out of high school, and we had like pretty good attention, and we had a name for ourselves, and to the point where there was another Currents in Connecticut, which they're still doing really good, and they actually got pretty big.
Wow.
I remember one of my friends, it was Anthony, just going toe-to-toe with, like, tapping away, just like, "Oh, this is our name, and, we're just kids, like, I don't know. And you kind of get this small sense of fame, like, locally or whatever, and I was too young to not understand and take it all in, like, hey, this is not really that big of a deal right now, like, you need to, like, work at it. And I learned a lot through that, and I feel like towards the end, we all kind of started branching to like what we are doing now. Like I play mainly like indie rock, like post-rocky, ambient style music. Everybody marks in the pop punk scene. Anthony's doing a very heavy band. He's doing that's growing really well for him, and we're all kind of doing our own thing, and it kind of worked out that for the better. So
were you always into the heavier stuff? Because I have it stuck in my head watching Currents for so long.
Yeah.
Did you prefer, or are you more happy with what you're doing now?
I am happier doing what I'm doing now. Yeah. I think that it's the sound I've always wanted to.
Okay.
From a young age, I listen to like Modest Mouse and Switchfoot and like all these bands that like later on I'm like, wow, I still love these records. I still had I listened to a huge spectrum of music, but I was into the heavy stuff growing up as a kid, and that was a cool thing. And
we all remember 2008.
Oh yeah. Those were those times, and I feel like I always had a love for like ambient style stuff, if it was heavy too, or backbeats with some soundscapes, and I ended up like loving instrumental music, loving that kind of style, and kind of pursuing it to the full extent. And then I learned how to play different instruments. I started like producing, I started singing, doing all this stuff, and now it kind of all came together.
What instruments do you play at? And guitar is the one I know.
Guitar, I'm mainly a guitar player. Yeah. I can play drums and feel confident about it. So that took a long time of just garage, hanging out with friends, all this stuff. But it's to the point where I've been playing bass. I play roughly a little bit of piano, enough to where I can say, hey, if I wanted to go into a studio and record everything, which I'm doing soon. Plugging myself, and going out of my way to kind of seeing the layers and layering sounds and seeing for what it is.
Right,
So.
right. I would love to learn an instrument. You saw the guitar that I have just for kicks.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Literally just to stare at every night when I go to bed.
You're like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, I hope to learn that one day.
Yeah.
Is it confidence that helps you learn an instrument? Because I think that's my downfall. I look at it and I'm like, I don't want to be judged because I know I'm good. But then again, everyone sucks at it. Right.
I would say that confidence only has something to do with it when you're performing.
Okay.
I feel like people judge you no matter what, especially. I feel like music, for me, puts me in a very vulnerable spot, especially when you're a writer. Singing and I'm told you like I'm basically venting, so
right.
I feel like it's a different light. You're shedding a lot of light on a different spectrum of things. So for when you're first starting and when you're playing, it's got to be fun. I feel like it's how you view it. It's like your perspective on it and kind of taking that part, and simplifying it to the point where it's like, you know what? I'm doing this because I want to, I'm doing this because it's fun for me, or you can find, I feel like that's been the most consistent thing in my life, just playing guitar.
That's amazing.
And, through that, you learn a lot, and it takes years to get to where you want to be, but, some people have a knack for it, and some people pick it up for 2 days and they drop it because they're like, oh, I can't play this, and then they see somebody who plays it, and they're like, I want to play it every day,
Right.
And I had this strange connection. I think that guitar was more of a crutch to me at the time.
It's better than like crack.
Yeah. No, most people,
like some hard drug.
Yeah, some people eat meth for cereal, and some people play guitar. Like I feel like that goes hand in hand. I mean, some people do both. But that's them.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, who am I to judge?
Yeah. Hey, meth for breakfast.
Do we need to cut to? Currents wasn't your first, what you would consider successful band, from what I understand.
Yeah, I mean, like
what would be the one at least maybe commercially successful, if you would consider that you're at that point? What's commercially successful to you? Is it being signed, or is it just doing something that makes you enough money to get by every month?
I would say a little bit of both. Like, I don't mind. I mean, right now I'm not really generating a lot of profit at the moment. It's kind of like a spend money to make money type deal.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you find in everything. And it's about paying your dues. You handshake the right people.
Right.
Being signed's always a goal. It's a bigger market. It's a bigger network for sure. But it's also a debt. It's also they're spending money to make money off of you. So I feel like I'm more along the lines of like, hey, I'm gonna DIY it as long as I can until somebody says, hey, come on over and I'll take care of the rest, kind of thing. So as far as me, I would say Currents was successful in its own way through just kind of making ourselves prominent. People
in that Orlando scene.
Yeah, in the Orlando scene. I mean, as a young kid, and then I did a brief stint of playing music with one of the guitar players, Dominic. We released a couple songs that we were working on, kind of more of like closer to like spoken word type band. They're called wave bands, I guess is the genre of that. So a lot of people like those too. But as far as commercially or like anything successful, I wouldn't say anything has been overly successful in my opinion.
Yeah.
But that's because of probably my perfectionist attitude. I filled in for a lot of bands, and I've been a part of things that are successful.
Yeah.
Kind of behind the scenes, and which I've always prided myself on. I think that I've learned a lot to get me to the point where I'm at now, to where it sets me up for a really good spot. And so I'm really thankful for all that. So.
What is the Orlando scene like? Because I always found it interesting when I followed you guys around with the camera. Because it was this interesting kind of almost underground. There's a subculture.
Yeah. Your reference, I know, is coming underground.
It
system.
was. Yeah, but it really. You know, so I mean, is that still alive? I mean, is that, or has that changed?
It has changed dramatically. I think that a lot of...
Because it seemed like a tight-knit community at the time.
It was. I feel like it was like this tight little family network of brother and sister bands. I feel like a lot of people, a lot of the same people that I saw from that circle are still doing music today in their own way with certain people, and it's crazy because those friendships and those bonds that they made a lot earlier in life, even Kissimmee, Orlando, or all these different places, and it's really had an effect. And I think that a lot of the scenes back then, it was just a fun time. I was a young kid, so I had a huge open eye perspective on it.
Yeah.
But as far as now, I feel like it's through the internet getting bigger, and through all these apps and through all these heavy hitting bands like my friends that have been just at it for all this time. It's really drawn in a bigger crowd. It's really made it like a more serious thing. I feel like back then anybody could be in a band and a lot of people would go. Now it's like you have to really find your market, your fan base, and your influence. And what's funny enough is probably through Instagram, me posting like little clips of things had more people interested than me like trying to just say, hey, go to this show. If I posted something on the internet and somebody liked it, that's more influence on my end, I guess, that gets people like, hey, he's actually, I like this, or this guy, I think this guy's good, or whatever, and it's affecting its own way. But I knew back then, every weekend, I knew there was a show, and I knew there was going to be a bunch of people there.
Yeah,
and that's
that you knew.
Yeah, and it was a really tight family network that really got me to, kind of get more in touch with like this support system.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, that support didn't exist. Everybody has their ways of going about things, ulterior motives, and goals, personal ambitions, which is respectful.
Yeah.
So I kind of got lost in having that, and then when we kind of ended the first thing, it kind of put me in this like deep like, what am I doing? Or I was in Harmony, which is beyond nowhere. Like it's in the middle of St. Cloud and Melbourne.
Wow.
And it's like this white picket, like really nice town, but it's really out there. So I used to call it an island. And it really was. I felt like when I wasn't doing music, it just was terrible, And I had a little rough, home life with my family, to the point where, obviously I'm great with them now, or, it's my family. But I was moving all around and everywhere, and I kind of had this nomadic, wherever the music would take me lifestyle, even, while I was in school. And it really shaped to where I found myself through music and finding, my own little scene of things, or whatever I see it as now. But it's really scattered. I would say the Orlando scene is just very, really scattered. There's different types of genres. Everybody and their mother is in a band or a DJ or something. But not saying I'm discrediting that. I'm just saying that I feel like I took more time to, do something that is very genuine to me.
Yeah,
and,
it's a little more diluted now.
Yeah. It definitely is.
Are some of the
Scarce.
venues gone?
Some venues are gone, but a lot of them pop back up. And there's, I feel like there's four or five big major spots that everybody likes to play, or big acts come through, and that's kind of like the Orlando support system. But I mean, it's definitely a different game.
Yeah.
I'd say.
You kind of threw in your home life. Now, growing up, it was a struggle. Would that be an understatement in some ways?
Yeah, I mean, to kind of generalize it, so I'm not sitting here with the autobiography of the tragedy of Austin's family, because I love my family. They're great people. I just, I was inexperienced and young, and I kind of got this light of life that would affect me in a lot of ways, and I was really young, and I kind of had to deal with it through that, and my parents didn't understand it. I felt like, moving around a lot, being an Army brat pretty much, and my original parents got divorced, and I was moving around back and forth, and I would say just so much uncertainty and up in the air, and I kind of found my way through life throwing curveballs at me, and I took it the other way, and I just kind of kept going, and I kind of never looked back.
And it inspired music along the way.
Oh, so. Yeah. I would say a lot of the music that I would end up creating or writing is nostalgic and has its own themes of, what my perspective is, what's real to me, and where, I have this concept for one of my songs that I'm doing for like solo record. It's through absence comes clarity, and it's a very good concept about a lot of stuff that I was so accustomed to having around me, and kind of getting the carpet pulled out from under you, and realizing like you try to play it safe, you try to get things all ready to go, try to depend on these things, and sometimes they're not going to be there, and sometimes you get peace of mind through not depending and not relying and kind of finding things for yourself. And it's kind of like this discovery and kind of walking into the unknown type concept, So.
And that's coming out, working on it?
Yeah.
It's under development.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Because that sounds interesting as hell.
Thanks,
I mean,
thanks.
I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah, I have, I'm writing like a EP right now for the music that I'm doing. Songs are retracing steps.
Yeah.
One of them's called Familiar Foreign. It's this concept of just, feelings that I've known so well, but at the same time is just completely out there to me. Like the concept of it, and like me kind of figuring that out for myself.
You keep mentioning feelings. What are some of the feelings that drive some of the, like if you could put a name to it, or are we talking...
Rumination.
I
would say the constant process of replaying life events, and kind of like I used to have this problem, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I would take things and see them in the same way that I saw them before, and I kind of, through relationships or through anything, or bands or anything, I kind of would like, this is what I did last time, it worked for me, or like, and I kind of generalized it to where people are always changing and adapting. And not everybody's the same, so you can't really do that.
Yeah.
But for me, it was it was a trial and error process of like, hey, maybe that's not best for this right now, or hey, this is, you can't just come back and do things and approach it the same way, because, like I said, it's always changing. So
yeah, and you kind of might get yourself kind of stuck in the same corner.
Allow
yourself to grow from it.
And sometimes it takes getting backed into the corner to really make something of yourself.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been, with the home life, I had some falling outs with my parents, mainly one person, but it's not a big deal. We're cool.
Or ex significant other, or?
Oh, no, his parental figure. But I mean, like, it really shaped me as a man, I think. I felt like I would literally get so heated and get so frustrated, and I'm really monotone and mellow, and it kind of got me to these points, so I reached limits that I never thought I could.
Yeah.
And to the point where somebody was like, the same person was, I respect you so much because you do what you think is right, and you stood up to me, and I respect you for that. And that's something that resonated with me, because through all that tension and through all that I felt like I was being controlled to the point where I'm a creative in learning my personality as I go, and I feel like I always try to see the light in things, but it really shows you who you are when somebody kind of challenges everything that you are. And I feel like that has a lot to do with my music, a lot to do with, I'm not going to let anybody tell me what I can and can't do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let anybody, run how I'm supposed to do things, because I've kind of been through a lot of different stuff to get me to this point. So it's a lot of backtracking and looking forward at the same time. So
absolutely. Speaking of influences, what music do you listen to, and how has that shaped the music you like to play today?
Wow. Well, yeah. I mean, I've been influenced by tons of different genres of music.
Top five, if you
top
had to.
Five. I would say definitely Radiohead. I'm a big Tom York fan.
That man. That whole band. together. I mean, the music really
Yeah,
takes you to a whole different universe.
Literally, like, they always progressed and always changed, and it was just amazing.
Yeah.
I would say, I would say Circa Survive for sure. It got me really in touch with my ambient, like, drawn out, depressed feel.
Hey, yeah, I'm on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say. Wow, this is a lot. I listen to a lot of hip hop and a lot of rap too. But I would say probably Kendrick Lamar. His jazzier songs really do resonate with me a lot. They really do influence a lot of stuff. I've been listening to a lot of like MF Doom and like all kinds of stuff. Like I'm really into like drums being played as rap beats. Like I love that. I've always been into auxiliary percussion like shakers and tambourines and stuff, and like almost tribal sounding. Almost if you hit this too many times, it's gonna rain. No, I'm just. But I would say Tied to Man, their new instrumental record or their last release, just huge to me. It was kind of the point where I was like, wow, I was writing something that sounded like I wanted it to be like this kind of thing.
Right.
And I have a soft spot for Coldplay. People give me a hard time sometimes.
I think
I
more
love
people
Coldplay.
do than they want to admit.
I don't care. I mean, at this point, like, people are gonna think whatever they want. I'm like, this is what I like. I don't, I don't try to.
I will say their newer stuff for me hasn't really like.
It fizzled out for me because it became more digital. It became more commercial, universal. I would say. Yeah. But that doesn't discredit. I don't think they're musicians.
Favorite Coldplay album?
Ooh, probably X and Y or A Rush of Blood to the Head. I would say that's better. I have that in my car right now, actually.
Yeah.
Guilty pleasure.
Listen to that on the long drive home.
Oh yeah.
Awesome choices. I'm trying to think. I know I should know the name of this. The album Parachutes, I think would be. Would
Parachutes is a huge one, yeah.
They have We Never Change, Yellow. Yeah. It's probably one of the most emotional albums for me because it's such a deep, sensitive place to go to as far as music goes.
I think all musicians are vulnerable in their own way.
Yeah,
and they
wear that emotion through their songs. I think that's one of the healthiest things I think you can do is express it, and musicians have that natural outlet to just be like, well, this is what I'm feeling. I'm going to write about it. I'm going to sing about it. And all that. Well, to move forward with kind of more current stuff. Are you in a band right now? What bands are you in? What music are you doing currently?
Yeah, currently I'm right now I'm playing bass for this band called Lyonia.
Okay.
They're comprised of this band I used to play bass for called
Lyonia.
Wilderness. Yeah, they're called Lyonia.
How do you spell that?
Lyonia.
Interesting.
And it's my friend Ryan's brainchild. Me and Ryan really see eye to eye a lot of things, and I feel like my band Isles Apart is like a brother band. With Lyonia. Lyonia, he does pretty much all the writing and the vocals and the guitar. Yeah. He does a lot of piano work, and having him has helped Isles out a lot. He fills in guitar for us, and I play bass for them, kind of thing. So it's like in it together type deal. As far as like I said, I'm doing my own music. I'm doing like a solo thing. I'm gonna call it Mirage Scenery. It's a different play on things. It's a concepts, like I said, through absence comes clarity, things being familiar and foreign at the same time, a lot of feel to that, and I'm doing Isles Apart, which is like my baby of work for the last 4 years, and it's still technically newer. We've been working a long time to get it to this point, so it's still kind of newer. So
you guys aren't signed at the moment?
No.
Or are you guys, I mean...
We definitely are, and we're definitely in the market to do that, but we kind of want to put our resume together first.
Before you even,
we know we have a lot of connections in that realm. We have a lot of ways of going about it. It's there when we're ready, and I feel like... the best part about it now is, like I said, to stand out, to do something that is more than yourself and kind of treating that band as its own entity, and it really, gets it going for when it does all happen. Yeah. And it's kind of like just with the calm before the storm.
Are you putting out anything soon, or?
Yes, we're going to be releasing a single called "Fading Out" for Isles Apart. And then Lyonia, we just ended up recording a single at Aaron Marsh's studio in Lakeland. It's called the Vanguard Room.
Wow.
Aaron Marsh is from Copeland.
Cool.
One of my favorite bands. So we got to be around like these really prestigious like studios. Same with Isles Apart. We recorded the same songs way too many times. A lot of traveling, a lot of handshaking, but we got to be around like really high end music people right now.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite bands growing up as when I was like 15 or 16, they were called Need to Expire. We ended up tracking a little bit with the guitar players of that band, and he lived with one of the guitar players from A Day to Remember, and it was just, we had a lot of people involved in it without it even being out, and a lot of people got to see the side of it of me and my friend Gene kind of going back and forth and trying to make this happen.
Wow.
So, but yeah, I mean, as far as right now, really pushing my stuff that I've been working on.
Yeah.
A lot of songs that I never thought anybody would hear, and I'm kind of taking it seriously to get them out there and, sing for a band for my first time.
That's amazing.
So it's coming into my own, but I'm really excited about it.
You've practiced the vocals
Yes.
and how to keep a good, clean voice. You mentioned quitting cigarettes. Is that part of that? To kind of help?
It was a little part of that.
Strength?
It's a lot about health. It's a lot about because like even though for some reason this is a thing from smoking cigarettes, I've gained this raspy like clarity tone. I try to like be clear, and I have like a good range now, but there's always that like rasp underlining that kind of somebody was like, oh, you sound like Anthony Green because of a little rasp or something like that, and I'm like, wow, that's a crazy reference. Like I've been compared to Tom York, and I think I pride myself on. I was like, wow, I never thought I'd even be close to that. So hopefully you kind of take what you want from it from after I play, what you take from it.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What I've been like, we said at the beginning, I've been following you for years as an obsessed fan. No, but I've been
okay.
Watch out for this guy.
Yeah. I'm like, whoa. Somebody's following me.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
And he has a camera every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've continued to do this, not so much from my perspective necessarily for the fame, but for the love of this music.
Genuine love for the music,
What inspires you to stay in it? After every setback you've had, after maybe a band that didn't work out, what kept you going? Well, this is still, regardless, even if all my friends make it and I don't, this is still what I want to do.
Exactly. And I feel like it's this ambition to do more, this ambition to, it's been the thing that's held me together, and like I said, it's been my network into the rest of my life. I feel like I've been, it's been probably the only consistent thing probably in my life that hasn't been, my family, I would say. A lot of lessons learned through, my willpower of sticking with it, being genuine about it, not doing it to just be in a band. I've been offered so many times to join other people's music and like
fast track.
And fast track, and as much as I love that, there's a certain connection with like I just don't feel satisfied playing other people's music anymore. Like it just kind of feels like disconnected to me, and not to say that like I don't like doing it, and like I would fill in for whoever, and I always love helping my friends out, but to really push yourself to say, you know what, no matter what anybody said, I do this to stay true to myself and kind of shed some light on my perspective, and kind of, like I said, it's really venting for me, man. One of the songs that I'm going to play, it's called Retracing Steps, and it's really about like wishing everybody the best, and while I'm on this mental rumination kind of feel to it, but I'm kind of like, looking further, looking past that, and looking onward. That has a lot to do with the music. I feel like it's really intertwined with how I'm feeling, and I felt like there's been a lot bottled up, and there's a lot of stuff that on social media and other stuff like that. I'm not really a descriptive person. I don't really put it all out there. internally.
Right.
Because I'm kind of going through my own thing, and it has a lot to do with the creative process, and I feel like a lot of musicians nowadays, I feel like it can come across as a gimmick, you know, and I just am no nonsense, like, this is what it is kind of thing, and
that's what I've always respected about it. Every time I know, when I'm in the presence of what you're doing, it's always been, well, at least I know it's going to be genuine to the creative process. It's going to be genuine to the art. I'm not getting something. Yeah, no, seriously.
Giving me some credit when I probably needed the most. That was great. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's why, you know, especially as like the first guest on the show, I couldn't have picked a better person.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Watching you for years. And it's been an amazing process.
It's been a lot of progression.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the progression, you're saying now more, you don't really feel the passion behind playing other people's music.
Right.
Does that mean you're doing a lot more writing now yourself?
Oh, man, I don't think I've ever stopped writing by myself. I feel like a lot of the bands that I was in early on, I had people that either did it a little bit or liked what was going on, so they kept it how it was, or some people just depended on it. They just like, oh, this is going to be done, and I just do whatever, and then I'll be good. And it got to the point where it felt like a little bit shallow. It felt like I was putting all this work in for people who just didn't want to take it seriously, or they would put me down or something like that, and in exchange for my art, and in exchange for like everything that I am. And it came to the time like I'm like, wow, you know, this is not going to stand. I'm not going to drive a mile that is not worth it anymore. I'm not going to spend more. I've probably spent more money than 10 albums it would take to do or anything like that, and you know, it's because of my genuine love for it. I didn't post it to get people's attention. Like, I got people's attention through just being myself and, you know, being genuine about it. And I feel like through the small runs, I filled in for bands, and I've toured here and there, and I got to go to the East Coast, and been out of state tons of different times, and met a lot of people, and a lot of people are like, wow, you know, like, I liked what you did with this band, but what are you doing? Yeah. Like, and there's always been this underline of, like, we're doing stuff, you know, but it's kind of like this slow creep up that I'm trying to establish, and
it's organic.
It's organic, and a lot of people have said it comes off as mysterious, and it's because we don't justify ourselves. We don't have to sit there and talk about ourselves all the time. It's like proof's in the pudding type deal, you know?
Right, absolutely.
Like, and I feel like the best way to get our point across is through the music itself, and not this gimmick. And people have been paying attention probably through my little clips, and I post covers, and I post all kinds of stuff.
Instagram's powerful that way.
Yeah.
Because you can do a quick little video, and then, boom, you got at least those followers there who will pay attention to when you do something else.
And I feel like I do it mainly for me. Like,
that's amazing.
And I watch the clips tons of times myself, critique myself like crazy.
That's perfect. Wow.
You know, you can't control how people perceive you. Like, some people will be like, oh, this guy is just doing it to look cool and pretend like he's in a band or something. Other people are like, dude, when are your music's going to come out? I keep seeing these clips on Instagram, and that's one of the great things that I've seen, like, being at some place and seeing somebody I haven't seen in years and go, hey, man, I love your music. Let me know when you have your album out, or let me know when you have your songs out. Yeah. And I always had to tell them the same thing, like, it's coming, I'm working on it. And it's definitely, like, it's a hardship being a musician, like, you know, I chose this as my career. I chose this as I had offers to go to schools, and I turned it down. And I had that to some people it's like, oh, what about your backup plan and all that stuff. Some people don't have backup plans. Some people kind of decide then and there, even at a young age, like, nothing is going to faze me from everything that holds me together. And so I feel like that's always been a big thing towards me. So
I can completely relate, because my backup plan is getting a 9 to 5 if this doesn't work out, and then maybe when I'm 40,
and that kind of sucks. Yeah,
it just. You know, like...
Yeah. They took... I mean, is it you get darker in the background? Or is it, But, no, but I mean, like, honestly, like, as you get older, you kind of see things for what they are, and, you know, what your parents tell you and what everything is supposed to be, and we kind of did a small stint on politics and how crazy things are, you know, and
it's just such a fucked up reality.
Yeah, and with that, you kind of say, hey, at least I'm not that, or like at least I'm,
Yeah.
And you kind of pride yourself on, the better things in life. You shed light on what your world is, and we're all part of the same thing.
Yeah.
Whether you're just starting playing music, or you're done playing music, or you're just about to get to the good part, we all got there in our own way. I don't think there's any musician that doesn't have like a little bit of autism or depression or just these qualities about them that you're always internally battling something, and you're kind of showing a small smidgen of that. Or OCD, that's a big one. People can just sit on a computer for hours and crank out music, and like I've even made so much music with GarageBand, believe it or not. Like,
wow.
Bands like, not to name drop, but like the Gorillaz and all these bands. There's a story about some kid. He's 18 years old.
Yeah.
He's wrote songs for Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole and all these people.
I heard about that guy recently. Yeah.
All on his iPhone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it inspired me so much, because I haven't had a ton of money.
Yeah.
My parents never paid for. They're like, hey bud, you want to be a musician? You don't want to go to school? Then you got to deal with it and learn the hard way.
I remember that even back in current.
I was on my ass like from a really young age, and I'm a survivor, and I'm never gonna stop surviving. I feel like not every day is life or death, but if it's the concept of like everything I'm doing has meaning.
Yeah.
I serve tables by day, but I feel like my bad humor is funding all my music. All the huge genuine parts of me is funded through these very bad jokes, and trying to, because my perception on serving is presenting yourself and getting your point across, and being genuine with people, and just meeting people with all different kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of different kinds of opinions. If they see a little bit of my tattoos, they give me a smirk or whatever, like, oh, I don't know about this guy, like as if I break windows on the weekends or something. I don't know.
I'm a rough trick.
Yeah, now you got to realize, like, in this day and age, like, art and creativity and expression are a huge thing, and no matter what.
And I think I would argue that is such a thing nowadays, because that's probably the safest outlet we have. Mm-hmm. Politics is screwed up. The world is kind of nuts. We don't really have much in terms of what is our reality anymore that's enjoyable. So I think and I said this when Trump first got elected. I was like, we're going to see art explode from here on out.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is going to be our outlet.
The whole Kathy Griffin incident and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And the thing is the way people reacted to her doing that is not understanding the exact extreme it took to get there.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just, like block out a huge portion of everything that led up to this moment,
right? And
showcase, this, it's art, it's our First Amendment right,
and it shows how much fear and anger has gone behind what Trump has said and threatened, and then in part
the internet's made it even worse.
Well, and the problem with the internet is that it's a huge pissing match at that point, because you can have all these people say these things and all these facts, and you have all these, and it's like. I think
one article can ruin somebody.
Absolutely, and I've noticed too in a world where we debate politics so much, I always try to pull it back to what morally kind of comes down.
I think it's coming down to good and evil.
It really, exactly. All right, you want to argue that we
right
can't,
or wrong?
You want to argue that we can't afford healthcare. Well, why can't we? Because for me, it's a moral thing. I personally am A-okay with spending some of my tax dollars to make sure that grandma can get her hip replaced, or that kid can get a heart, condition.
Yeah, it's people who need it. And instead of like keeping your corporate fat cats on their 7th or 8th, I know this guy just passed away. I don't know his name on top of my head, but he had like freaking 7 heart transplants. The guy was super rich, And one
after another, I gotta keep them hearts coming.
Yeah, and it's just like ungodly. It's like crazy how, in society, you're
hearts.
Yeah, he had like crazy amount of transplants, and he could have died. He should have been dead, like 4 or 5 times.
Jesus.
But it's one of those things. Like, why are we keeping these people healthy and tax cut free and enjoying the rest of their lives? Like, you've already made it.
Yeah.
I'm sure your taxes suck, but there's people's lives that are way more terrible that could use some sort of support, and our government should be lined up in support of their people.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the notion that it's a part of that social contract.
Oh, yeah.
I exist in this society. I have succeeded because of the society that is before me.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, I'm going to give a portion of my success back for the next guy. Because the reality is, we don't fucking live forever.
Right.
There's no point taking all
Right.
that money to the grave.
Right.
I never understood it.
And it's all about just circulating it back into keeping the world happy.
Yeah. What's the greater good scenario of that?
Kids like my age, like 23-year-olds, you can get lost into drugs. You can get lost in all kinds of stuff. You can kind of do good. You can do bad.
Yeah.
You can do all these things. But at the grand scheme of things, if there's people getting shot by police because of their color, if there's people that are, they can't afford to eat, there's people that have all these things going on, and if there's no way of genuinely being able to get through that and progress as a country, then we're not doing it right, and that things have to change.
Right.
And this publicity stunt of a presidency, in my opinion, has just thrown everything into a vulnerable spot. Everybody's not wanting to say they're from America when they're foreign or all this stuff because it just looks bad. It's just like the way the world views it is just amazing.
Yeah.
How bad things get.
How much does politics influence your music? I mean, do you or is it more your journey right now? Is your music is more of your emotional turmoil rather than the political?
I would say it's definitely more emotional turmoil. I don't think that as a person I'm very adamant about speaking about my political opinions because
especially through the music.
Because I think it's tunnel visioned is my word for it because I usually use that a lot, but it's because I'm so stuck in what's going on internally or how I view things that there's no words that I could probably even put out there that hasn't already been said about how I would feel about something when it comes to politics.
Okay.
Everybody has their voice. Everybody has their opinions. I think I've said my piece on it.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's, like I said, not much to say on my end through music being connected through that. I feel like a lot of art and music and all kinds of stuff are fueled by the fire that is political.
Yeah.
Political talk, but as far as mine, I wouldn't say.
To give a throwback, I mean, Green Day, I Don't Want to Be an American Idiot.
Yeah,
it's one of them. To this day, it has a huge impact. I think it applies even more
it's
so
definitely
today.
A redneck agenda going on.
Definitely. When you think about, who was, who really got behind Trump, it is the Bible Belt, it's the Rust Belt. Yeah. And I think some of those people are genuine blue collar, they just really want their jobs to be secure, they want to take care of their family and all that, but I just,
I think they got reeled in with an ulterior motive.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they got duped. That's the best word to put it, but a lot of people, got sucked in and they got the shit end of the stick, and that's on them. You know, a lot of people are coming out saying, "Hey, I didn't vote for this," and it's like, we've been trying to tell you
day one. We're like, hey, this is not. To close this, to kind of go back to where your influences are for your music and stuff like that. You said you don't really focus on the political, but you do focus on a lot of the emotional journey with your music.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want to write about. Do you see yourself through your music as a leader? Do you understand the impact that your music could have for someone else's life?
Yes.
And does it empower you in a lot of ways?
It does empower me because I would say, through a lot of the projects and bands and stuff, I have these leader qualities. I feel like I don't set out to be like anybody. I think I've been called a trendsetter without trying to be a trendsetter, which is weird.
That's the best kind.
Which is weird. Yeah, I think it's great. It's just like That's
almost like, don't call me a hipster. I'm too busy.
Exactly. Like I'm not like an egomaniac. I've never been like that. I think that's you call me humble. I think that's awesome. Like that's a great confidence booster for me because I don't think I've ever been like the opposite way.
Confidence over cockiness has always been.
Oh yeah, and I feel like I'm more just in touch with what is going on when it comes to that music and.
Real.
The emotional turmoil and like you're saying and I feel like there's a lot of people out there going through a lot of the same stuff and I kind of want to shed some light into hey, not everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
But to find yourself through that and to kind of take it to, you might be at the last end of your wit there, about to crack, and there's a lot of stuff, of dealing with anxiety or depression or traumatic events and stuff like that. Like I said, like, through music, it has been my crutch, and to get that out there and to help somebody else is beyond me. I would love to touch somebody in that way.
Yeah. Do you ever see yourself stopping, or is this just what you want to die with a guitar in your hand?
I will die with a guitar in my hand.
That's amazing.
Or probably it'll get so futuristic that probably GarageBand in my hand, maybe.
Just an iPhone.
Yeah, just like an iPhone or a guitar. I strive to own like a little home studio and pianos and loops and all these big things, and I kind of want to just like gear hoard and be that crazy guy with a bunch of equipment, playing music and traveling, getting paid to do it, and being with genuine people, and that's affecting people and making new friendships, and that's what music is. It's just this big expression, and you meet like-minded people. You meet people that have nowhere remotely the same views as you, but I feel like music is this big universal language. That word has been thrown around a lot. There's people who do it, like through orchestras and symphonies. Whiplash is a good movie to reference if you haven't seen Whiplash.
I'm embarrassed.
Oh man, no, don't be embarrassed at all. I forget the actor's name, but it's about this drummer who goes to school for playing in a music school.
It won an Oscar, right?
Yeah, or Berkeley.
Nominated?
It was nominated for something. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was Sundance or something. But it was just like this independent film at first.
Yeah.
And the stress and the frustration, the dedication this kid is willing to go to play drums and to be the best drummer and get through school and be this top tier musician. Yeah. There's a part where he's punching his drum head all the way through because he can't get this one part, or I'm not going to spoil the movie for anybody.
We'll save it for everyone.
But you could just tell the emotion that it comes into play, and there's a lot of... I've had a big thing about this, because through high school I took one of the stories that I told you the other day. I traded weightlifting, because I was a big, chunky, short kid.
You called yourself a chicken nugget, which I thought hilarious.
I was definitely a nugget. Like, a full-on nugget, maybe a little fried half the time, a little crispy. Definitely not grilled. But yeah, definitely I had this thing where I was like, man, I don't fit in anywhere in this small rednecky town. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I like music, I like guitar, I play a little bit. Yeah. I ended up trading my weightlifting class for guitar, and that was the rest of it. I met some of my best friends. Shout out to Chris through guitar. A lot of great time spent in that class, and I took drumline class. I never aspired to be in the band because I never wanted to mix my music with work or make it feel like homework to the point where I hated it. It's always been this expression. If I haven't been feeling good about something, or I felt like it's stressful, it's never like gonna keep progressing with me.
Yeah, I've always held the belief that the second something becomes negative, you lose the creative flow. The creative flow really kind of continues.
It makes you get a standstill.
Yeah, exactly.
Stagnant is the worst feeling, I think, for any musician. You can get writer's block, or you can just have your life going in a million different ways, or you're waiting on tons of different people. That's one of my biggest problems is, sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm held back, or there's like, oh, I should be doing more. And honestly, music has a lot of insecurities. Yeah. There's a lot more in play. That I would say, obviously, establishing a business, making an LLC, doing all these things behind the scenes that a lot of people don't understand what you're putting into it. Right. And, it's the biggest reward is being able to, like you said, get your point across, vent, touch other people through your music, and kind of just giving off a perspective and shedding some light into, some little nugget from rednecky town that didn't belong there, and the music that keeps you there. And it's this like good, like I'm actually happy talking about it because it's like this content feeling. But I'm always hungry to do more, and like I said, I'm a survivor of a lot of different things. So you said you promised us a cover. Yeah.
So we're gonna set up for that.
If I don't butcher it, yes.
Yeah. And what are you covering?
I'm gonna cover Clocks by Coldplay.
I love that song.
Yeah.
That's a great pick.
So,
okay, solid. Well, let's cut to it.
Yeah, we'll set it up.
Smile, smile, smile and I
Let me
It is musty in there.
It's a little
Nice.
musty. It's getting hot. All right, everyone. Austin, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you in the studio. I didn't even think we'd have this good of a setup for the covers that you wanted to do. And
Yeah.
you also mentioned you wanted to perform one of your songs
Yeah.
from a personal album.
Yeah. It's for a project I'm calling Mirage Scenery. It's the song's called Retracing Steps. It's about the stuff we talked about, the rumination.
Right.
All the above.
Solid. And then you were doing a cover.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a cover of Coldplay by Clocks.
Okay, solid. Alrighty then. Well, look. Without further ado, take the floor.
Sounds good. Closed eyes, we said we'd never sleep again, but I kept them shut until I finally see it for what it's worth. Those eyes will fall short, and finally see it for what it's worth. Tracing the steps I made from when I was lost in memory, found myself in between, loose inside, running for the rise. I'm always hoping for the best for all of us. It'll take some time to recover. Seems like a quick moment of relief. Silent in the mirror, and I was in utter disbelief, utter disbelief. And I lost my voice, and I had nothing to say at all. Maybe one day we'll find the peace that we all seek in time. Tracing the steps I made when I was lost in memory, found myself in routine, loose inside and running for surprise. I'm always hoping for the best for all of us.
My goodness. And how long have you been working on that?
That's about a 3-year-old song.
I wanted to ask, do you think Florida, and I mean, like, you know, because some people really, you know, they say I was made because of, you know, I grew up in California. Do you think Florida has its own sound?
Ooh, I believe that Florida has many sounds. I don't think there's a direct sound that I think originates from it. I think the more popular, trendy stuff, I would say there's good heavy music and there's good pop punk music comes from Florida. Like, it's really rare outside that realm, but there's still a lot of great musicians, not discrediting anybody. But.
Right. Do you think there's an emotional tone that is unique to Florida? You know, because every state struggles with different things.
Depression through humidity.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering. I was like, I wonder if the heat gets to people and they're like, you know
Maybe
what?
we're stressed out and just, I don't know. I would say it wears on you. I think the days are, you get the full effect, I would say, in your day. But for the most part, I think that everybody's got their own thing going on.
Yeah.
And I think that it definitely could be the source. So we probably cracked the code.
Yeah, we did it right here. Thank you so, Austin, Allison. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Of course,
it's been a complete pleasure. Austin, Allison, everyone, look out for his music.
Thanks, man.
Whew. My goodness. Solid. Great. That's a day.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
All right.